lives.
Very warm welcome and good morning. Thank you so much. It's yet another opportunity for us to interact, to be together on the Leadership Wednesday show right here on your favorite channel, MBCI TV. And of course, when you know it is Leadership Wednesday, it all matters leadership. As we always say, everything rises and falls on leadership. And of course, when we talk and address these issues, we can be sure to have better leadership in our country, in the 47 counties, and of course, generally in the society. And we're so glad and delighted that you're also giving us and granting us your very treasured company during this particular show. Now, today, we're shifting gears a little bit. I know sometimes we focus on matters to do with what is happening nationally, but today now there is a very, very important area that maybe most people have not given the consideration that it deserves, and that is students' leadership. Now, that is what we want to focus today in line with the students' ministry, especially in our high schools. What a conversation you're going to have, and I believe you as a parent, and of course also most students, I know right now they're at home, they have close school for the April holidays, will actually benefit from this conversation. And we have guests that we've also lined up for you, very, very important guests that you're having today from the Kenya Students Christian Fellowship, KSCF as it is generally known, and they'll be here to help us get into matters to do with the students' ministry and also students' leadership in our high schools. Now, later on, we'll be joined by we'll have Bwana Joseph Odingo, the General Secretary, Kenya Students Christian Fellowship, and also Bwana Samuel Kinyanjui, the chairperson, the chairman, Mount Kenya West Region, Kenya Students Christian Fellowship. You can look forward for this very robust conversation on students' ministry and also maybe students' leadership. And in line with that, we have a question that we have also put out for you. What impact do you think Christian unions have in students' growth? Now you can begin to respond to that question. What impact do you think Christian unions have on students' growth? I know maybe you are looking and you are viewing us, and maybe you are a member of the Christian union. How did it impact on your life? What kind of impact did it have? Can you go back and maybe say that as a result of being in the Christian union, this is how my life is today? You can interact with us on that particular question. Of course, you know the drill. 23814, our short code platform, free of charge. You can also catch us live on our social media pages. We are live on Facebook, that is MBCI TV, and YouTube, that is MBCI TV official. Drop a comment or two as we continue with this conversation. We'll definitely listen and also read and also get to understand what you think about this conversation. But before that, of course, my colleague Kagi is also very, very much around. Good to see you. A very good morning to you, Bwana Kagi.
Yes, I'm fine. I thank God for this beautiful day He has given us. And I just want to welcome our dear viewer to today's program as we meander around the youth leadership. And also we will be looking at one or two issues that are going around our beautiful nation, Kenya. Welcome about. My name is again Paul Kagi.
Thank you, absolutely. And of course, we are looking forward to that particular conversation. Of course, you can also expect other segments that we also line up for you in this particular show. We have Know Your Constituency. You can begin to get ready for a very, very interesting constituency that we'll be focusing on today. And of course, you also have a very, very great and good leadership quote that we've also prepared for you. But before that, Kagi, some other items that have been making headlines across this particular week.
Yes, and we have quite a number of issues which are happening in our nation today, and some days which are like 2 or 3 days or the beginning of this week. And one of the issues that is being discussed the whole country is the way the health sector is being paralyzed by the strike which started like 2 weeks ago with the doctors. And by yesterday there was a little bit of there was smoke that was seen, whereby the government announced through the head of public service that they are going to absorb around, I think, 30,000 intern doctors, where he confessed that the government is going to release 2.4 billion shillings to be able to absorb these intern doctors in the health sector. This was one of the grievances that are being raised by the doctors who are striking right now, that they need these interns to be absorbed in the system to be able to continue working with a little bit of security in their jobs. And we are waiting to see them now start reporting to their workstations. And the CS for Health, Nahumicha, say that these interns were even ready to start working without a payment, so long as they are being absorbed on permanent and pensionable program by the government. And therefore, yesterday, the head of public service, Mr. Koskei, confessed they have really agreed as government that they are going to provide finances for paying the arrears for these intern doctors, and also to provide money for them to continue working in our hospitals, which is, I think, is a positive gesture. That means the government has started now agreeing on some of the grievances raised by the doctors. Okay. One more grievance that is, I think, is hectic to the government is whereby these doctors are really pushing the government to be able to pay them and to operate on a permanent and pensionable program, which I think the government is feeling a little bit of heat. And sometimes, Mangicho, I don't understand how this one works, because the health sector is purely is purely a county government affair. It was devolved. And the county government seems not to be very vocal in resolving the issues of doctor strike. And this matter has been picked by the CS for Health, which I think is our docket, but the county governments are very reluctant. And we are aware every county manages its health sector. For example, if you go to counties like Nairobi, like Mombasa, they have their own way of managing their doctors and even nurses. So we are going to wait and see. Yesterday, the doctors called on the president himself to come up and bring a solution to this problem, because many people are dying, and the health sector is very, very key in any country, right? Yeah.
Well, I think, Kagi, a very, very imperative issue there, and this particular strike going for the third week is very unfortunate, considering the kind of function and the kind of impact, the kind of duty that doctors have in the society. And of course, as you've put it, if we are having some white smoke somewhere, then I think this would be a relief to so many Kenyans who are actually seeking medical services and health services in our medical institutions. Actually, I don't even think we should have actually gotten to this particular level without necessary measures being taken, or actually necessary measures being put into consideration. We should have done what maybe we need to have done to avert this particular strike. I think it has painted the government in a very, very bad picture, because health, as you've said, Kwagi, is quite sensitive. It's quite sensitive, and there should be all possible steps and measures that need to be put into place. There should be goodwill from both parties to ensure that we don't have a scenario like the one that we have had. I know most Kenyans will now be waiting, just like you've said, and I've also seen in this particular paper, the doctors now want the President William Ruto, to actually intervene in this standoff. Most people are concerned that the President has actually not uttered a word since this particular strike started. It's like they are thinking maybe the Cabinet Secretary for Health maybe has not yet dealt with this particular matter the way maybe it is supposed. So let's believe that maybe the kind of conversation, the kind of the kind of deliberations that they had will actually bear fruit, so that we can see doctors actually coming back to these facilities and providing to Kenyans the services that they are supposed to.
Correct. And we have one other issue which is coming up. This one is coming out from the National Assembly. It is regarding to how to manage our roads. And we know one of the areas that every citizen desires to see the infrastructure of our roads in the country is very, very key. Everybody wants to see their roads, whether in Maram, whether tarmac in our areas. And therefore, one of the key areas where public really gauge the government's maybe operations is what we call the roads infrastructure. The parliament, especially through the CDF, they are proposing some laws, and these laws, they want to give the parliament, through the CDF, the power to be able also to get involved in managing the distribution of the road budget. For example, in this year's budget, 2023-2024 financial year, it was set around 96 billion shillings were set for our roads. And members of parliament feel that they don't know how these roads are being distributed. When you have like 96 billion shillings for the road project, they feel they need to have a hand in agreeing with the national government the distribution of these roads construction. And therefore, the lawmakers plan to change the law to make it mandatory for the Kenya Roads Board to consult them on road issue. All right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing because sometimes everybody must be involved. The carer must be involved. The members of parliament, even the Senate need to be involved, whereby we agree on where do we need more roads. Maybe they have stayed for a long time without good road network, who have more roads than the others, to have a good distribution of our roads in the country. And they want this program to be done through the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF, in conjunction with the Kenya Road Board. Yes, you know, this committee, which is involved in formulating the annual road program, meets 4 times in a year.
Okay.
And as they meet, the members of parliament need to be involved to be able to even speak on behalf of their constituencies. Maybe your constituency doesn't have a tarmac road. It's the only way to be able to get this tarmac road is through when you participate in negotiations and planning for these roads, instead of leaving it purely to the carer and maybe for CS Roads to be able to give his nod.
Wow, awesome there, and we believe that we are actually going to see some actions being put into place, and this is coming when we've witnessed a series of accidents, road carnage happening in different areas of the country. Very unfortunate. Of course, maybe poor road networks have actually been blamed for these accidents, besides maybe other reasons. So yeah, Kagi, I totally agree that maybe we need also to pay attention to that particular area. Yes.
And maybe one more item. There was one information that is here regarding to the reforms in our judiciary and public contracts, whereby the United States flags corruption in the judiciary public contracts. There has been a report released by the US which says in a new report that entrenched bribery and political interferences in Kenya judiciary and extortion in public contracts are barriers to investment inflows. And the government is very keen on maybe attracting investors in the country, but yesterday the US government, through its agency, gave a very good report on why sometimes the investors are not coming on board because of some hindrances. Number one, they really talked about judiciary, which is very, very key in implementation of our reforms. Number one, the report was saying, even though we have done a lot in reforming our judiciary, there has been a challenge of, number one, corruption within some of the officers in the judiciary. Number two, there is a challenge of the political interferences, whereby there has been trying to influence some outcomes of some cases to favor the political class. And also, there has been also the influence of the public contracts in some of the public institutions. And therefore, they are saying that these challenges are really derailing some investment to come in the country. U.S. Trade Rep Catherine Tai said undermined investor confidence is done through the national county government authorities where bribes is continuing. And this is not very new to us. We know these things have been there. And if this is what is affecting our investment corridor, then we need to look for a way on how to be able to sort out this problem. You know, I think last week there was a report on corruption in our country, and therefore corruption still becomes a very, very, very huge challenge to this nation when it comes to development, investment, and public and investment confidence.
Absolutely, and that is very, very okay, Kagi, and thank you so much for that. I think just one more interesting story, Kagi, before we welcome our guest on board, and this is further afield. In Senegal, we have the youngest president in Senegal, and I think this is really going to be a very, very great encouragement to other African democracies because he was actually in the opposition,
yes.
But even the nature of the transition was very peaceful. You know, of course, we know in Africa, unseating the incumbency is not something that is very, very easy, but in this particular country, we have the opposition, which actually won the presidential election, and it was very, very interesting and very commendable that the incumbency provided a very, very smooth transition process. So we have a new president there by the name Bassirou Diomaye. And actually is 44 years old, so it's quite very, very encouraging even to most of the youth that all these things are possible, Kagi.
Yeah, and when I was trying to follow up that story, I learned that around 60% of Senegalese are young people. And young people have power and they have good influence in changing the political landscape of any country.
Sure.
This can be really, we can learn this from the Senegal. Senegal has been a country which has been rocked with civil war for many years, but at least we can see there has been many changes. Even though there has been challenges of arrest, that this guy was arrested, he was detained, but did not stop the people of Senegal to be able to give a hand for a young man to lead them. In fact, he's the youngest leader in Africa.
Exactly.
And maybe in the world, he is one of the youngest presidents in this globe. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, of course, most people will actually be following on how maybe he's actually going to govern and also going to lead.
Yeah.
And we're just hoping that he's really going to turn around the fortunes and also the economy of Senegal. And this will basically have a very, very great impact, and it will be a major inspiration to so many other youth who are also having the dreams and the passion to also be presidents of their very, very respective countries. Absolutely awesome, and those are some of the key highlights of our headlines happening across this particular week. At this particular juncture, we are now ready to welcome our guest on board. Remember, we are looking at students' ministry. And of course, also from this students' ministry, definitely have students' leadership. Very, very interesting conversation. Our guests are Bwana Joseph Odingo, the General Secretary, Kenya Students Christian Fellowship, KSCF, and also Bwana Samuel Kinyanjui, Mount Kenya West Region, Chairman, Kenya Students Christian Fellowship. We've posed a question for you. What impact do you think Christian unions have on students' growth? What impact do you think Christian unions, as formerly known as CUs, have on students' growth? Continue sharing your input on 23814 for shortcut platform, and also on our social media pages: Facebook MBCI TV, YouTube, that is MBCI TV official. As we continue, we'll be glad to also see how you respond to our conversation. Wageni wetu karibuni sana. It's good to have you. A very good morning and welcome to MBCI TV.
Thank you, son.
Asante sana. Very close to me is Bwana Joseph Odingo, the General Secretary, KSCF, and of course we also have Bwana Samuel Kinyanjui. Just before we get into the student matters, we always also give our guests an opportunity maybe to also react to some of the items we've talked as far as this particular conversation is concerned. Karibu sana. We can start with the GS.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mangicho and the team.
Yes.
My name is Joseph Odingo. I serve as the General Secretary of Kenya Student Christian Fellowship, a ministry that is in charge of Christian unions in Kenya. And I think the things you are discussing here concerning our country is very important.
Okay.
And we are praying that doctors and the government will agree to save lives.
Wow.
I think what is important here is many helpless Kenyans who are now suffering because of the strike. And we are praying and pleading with the government and the doctors to agree so that services, medical services in our hospitals will go on.
Wow.
And also encouraging to hear that the new president of Senegal is the youngest in Africa. And with the trials and the problem he faced, he still rose up.
Sure.
And it's now, it is a story of hope and of encouragement that when God has a plan for you, nothing can put you down.
Right.
And let us keep on our fight in what we believe in and our purpose in life. And that is the story we are getting from the Senegalese president.
Asante sana Bwana Odinga, karibu sana. Looking forward to this conversation with you on students ministry and leadership. Bwana Kinyanjui, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Joining us for another edition of the Leadership Wednesday. We are happy to have you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Magicho. Thank you, Kagi. Thank you for invitation.
Asante.
And good morning, viewers. I'm Samuel Kinyanjui. I serve the chairman of the Kenya Student Christian Fellowship in Mount Kenya West region. This time around that we have a national camp, I'm a block chair, and my block is having 11 counties. So Magicho, what we have discussed is very, very important, like what the GS has said about the doctor strike. We are happy to hear that they are coming to an agreement, and my prayer is that they are going to resolve it very quickly, because of the number of people that are suffering. Many Kenyans, majority of Kenyans, they go to public hospitals. So you can imagine somebody maybe was in an accident or somebody is very sick. He's not treated just because there is a settlement between the government and the doctors. So my prayer is that it is resolved today and the services start tomorrow. I'm also excited of the youngest president in Africa, in Senegal. My prayer is that he's going to take the advantage of his age and deliver to his people, and be remembered for the good that he's going to do. The issue of corruption is a dragon that has really bothered this country for a long time. How I pray that people are going to have integrity, and we serve this country selflessly. You know, it is selfish that make people to steal and to do corruption. If people are contented with what they have, they cannot steal. You can imagine if you steal some money that is to take drugs to the hospital, or maybe to go and educate children. You can imagine the damage that happens. So it's my prayer and my desire that one day we shall live a corruption-free country.
Wow,
it will be a great country.
Amazing, thank you. Amazing. Thank you so much for those very good responses and
continue looking at the issue of our leadership. I want to pick it from the Senegalese president, the new Senegalese president, because he's a young person coming from the university, coming from maybe high school. Maybe because you have been involved in the leadership of the Christian unions, whereby we are building leaders out of that. Maybe you can tell us, according to your own perspective, the power that lies with young leaders or even young people in our nation. Okay, thank you, Kagi. Yeah, it's true. By the way, most of the time when we are crossing the schools and you are giving the report cards, you'll see most teachers commenting there that you have the potential. If you are not careful, you can tell a child you have a potential for 4 years without unleashing the potential. The question is, where will this child go if he exits the secondary school without really unleashing all the potential that he has? I want to say that young people are people that can do a lot of things. I normally tell the children that I teach, the students, the pupils, that them, they have an advantage. They can become anything in their life. Me, I'm a teacher, and I've reached what I wanted to be when I was growing up. But these children, if you're able to discover what they have, and we bring them up in the right way. You know, the Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go.
and when he grows up, he'll not depart from it. You know, that scripture, you can interpret it in two ways. You can interpret it that if you grow up a child in the ways of God, when he grows up, he'll not depart from it.
Right.
The other perspective that you can look at it, if you're able to discover the potential of a child when he's growing up, for example, a child is to become a doctor or a nurse or a pilot or maybe a footballer when he's very young, you discover that and you bring him up in that perspective. When he grows up, he will not depart from it. But you have seen cases whereby a child will be trained as a teacher or as a doctor, but he end up becoming a journalist or a musician or a dancer.
Correct.
So it means when this child was growing up, we never discovered the potential. So the Kenya Student Christian Fellowship is helping, I would say, in balancing and helping these children so that they can discover their potential in Christ. Yeah, you can imagine a child with education and God.
Right.
If a child has education and has God, that child will go to any height of life. Yeah. But if a child is only nurtured in education and he does not have God, there will be a problem somewhere.
Okay.
So KOCF is helping these children to discover that. We help them grow with Christian values so that they can really reach their potential and their destinies. Yeah, thank you.
Even before Mangisho comes again, maybe what's your take on that?
My take on that is, although we are talking of the youngest leader in Africa,
Right.
but being young does not make you a good leader. It can be the most. We've seen the young MPs we have in this nation are not behaving any different from the older ones.
Correct.
Because what make a person, you know, there's a Chinese proverb which says, the seeds of today becomes the flowers of tomorrow. And therefore, it is the character you build when you are still young, the kind of foundation you lay on your life, that will make you become what you need to become. And we have seen that majority of young people, that foundation is not laid, but if it was laid, they destroy it, or they don't have the character to build on it.
Right.
So it is very, very important that as we build the potential, as people discover, young people discover their dreams. In fact, we normally make fun with the students that when they're in Form 1, he wants to become a pilot. When he comes to Form 2, he wants to become a medical doctor. Then when he becomes Form 3, he wants to become an engineer. Then when they come Form 4, they want to become artists and dancers and comedians. So the whole vision is lost. It's lost. So it is important we discover that and build character to sustain it. Actually, somebody said, when you have a vision and a purpose, it helps you to go up. But what sustains you up there is discipline.
Wow.
Yeah. What will sustain you up there?
It's discipline.
It's discipline. Meaning purpose and hard work will make a student get A, go to campus.
Yeah.
But what really sustain him up there is develop that character. And we've seen so many people with great wealth, with great talent, great footballers, great celebrities, just fall. Because as they go up, they fail to build on that right foundation. So whether that president will succeed or not, and change Senegal, is not a miracle.
Yeah.
It will bring to leadership the character he has developed before he was 44. That's what's going to sustain.
Yeah. Maybe finally, I don't know whether there's a program that you have in the organization which is helping our young people to be propelled to become good leaders tomorrow. Do you have any program within the organization?
Yeah, and I think, Kagi, our guest can actually get into that, and of course, much more when we just come from this particular short break. Remember, if you're watching us and you're joining us for the very first time, we are looking at students' ministry and, by extension, students' leadership. Of course, we've also we've mentioned the youngest president in Senegal at 44. So definitely want to fight find out what is it that maybe we can be in a position to do to ensure that we have good leaders being nurtured when they are still young. You can look forward for this and much more. You are still watching Leadership Wednesday right here on MBCI TV with our guest Joseph Odingo, the GS, General Secretary, Kenya Students Christian Fellowship, and also Samuel Kinyanjui is the chairperson, Mount Kenya West, KACF. We take that short breather as we come back with much more.
MBCI Television, transform.
Christian Foundation Fellowship, CFF Nakuru, invites you for a 4 days impartation conference 2024 with the theme, In His Presence, from Psalms 95 to 11. Hosted by Bishop Dr. and Mrs. Charles Ngana, together with the Nakuru CFF clergy. The Transformative Experience Impartation Conference will happen from the 4th to the 7th April, every day at the Nakuru Secret, near Jarika County Lodge, Freehold, Nakuru. The guest minister will be Apostle Marcus and Mariama Glesham from the United States of America. Come and be imparted with the goodness of God. This is an interdenominational meeting, free and open to all.
Dominion Chapel Ministries International invites you to the King's Daughters Conference, a 4-day event designed to help her. 0723 361215.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Welcome back, and many thanks for still having your company with us right here on the Leadership Wednesday show. Today, a very interesting conversation that we're having here, and I know, of course, this will really interest you and also please you, especially as a parent and also maybe as a guardian, and even you as a student. There's quite a lot that you can gain from this students ministry and also by extension student leadership, focusing especially on our high schools. We have guests from the Kenya Students Christian Fellowship, KACF, as it is popularly referred to. We have the General Secretary GS, Bwana Joseph Odingo, and also Bwana Samuel Kinyanjui, the Mount Kenya West Region Chair, KACF, helping us to get into the nitty-gritties of this particular talk. And of course, we're also interacting with you. The question that we've put out for you is, what impact do you think Christian unions have on students' growth? I can see quite a number of you are beginning to comment. We'll be in a position to see what you are saying. Karibuni tena, and Kagi, there is a question that you put out there about the programs.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just interested in to understand, because I think Christian union is very, very key in our high schools and even in our universities. And most people believe Christian union is just meant to maybe model our young people in a Christian way. So my interest is, away from that, do you have any program that is geared towards even helping these Christian union members to be propelled to become good leaders?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Kagi. What you're saying is true, eh? Yeah, the Christian union, many people think that is just to bring up children in becoming saved and also growing up in Christianity. But that is not enough, because even as a Christian, you would try to achieve what other people are achieving. But I would say, if you are Christian, you achieve it better.
Right.
We did train our CU leaders and students that are in the Christian union. Like I can tell you, every term we do what we call Leaders Training Day. And we normally target Christian students that are leaders. We do a lot of training on the skills of leadership, and of course achieving them when they are in God. I'll make you understand that in many schools where we have got a strong CU, most of our students are the prefects. In many schools where you go and you find there is a strong CU, you'll find there are so many prefects in all the classes that are from the Christian Union, and also even the head boy and the head girls.
Right.
And these boys and girls are not chosen by the CU patron. They are chosen by a panel in the school. That one tells you the children that are growing up in Christian Union, they can offer leadership that is reliable.
Right.
And that's why they are chosen to be leaders. These boys and girls, when they exit and they go to the universities, you may find they're actually the worship leaders, they are the CU chairmen, and many, many things that they do. I happen to be in a college whereby the chair was actually a person that was a leader in the high school. And he was a great leader in the university. He made a lot of good things in the university up to the time that he exited. There are many that he did, which I cannot mention here. So when we bring up these children, I would say the children that are brought up in Christian Union and also in KSCF, they grow up as balanced children. A child that is balanced. He's not leaning on one side. He's a person that can fit anywhere. And why are they given this leadership post? It is because even the school know these are people that are genuine in whatever they do.
And full of integrity.
Yeah, they're people of integrity. Because you cannot be a leader who does not have integrity. So we are doing that, and our prayer is that may God give us more grace so that we can impact all our schools with the gospel as we bring them up in the ways of God.
Thank you so much, Bwana Kenyanji. And also, actually, as you pick from that particular point, Bwana G, is because that's a very important area that Kagi has put on. Even as you help us and maybe even our viewer to understand maybe the background of Kenya's Student Christian Fellowship and maybe how now it comes on board is even ensuring that we have what you can call maybe a leadership that is also based on the fear of God in our schools.
Thank you so much. KSCF was born in 1958. That's when we began it. And then it was registered with the government of Kenya in 1959. The idea that came was who takes care of students when they're in school at a time where their parents are in church. When you are busy in church here, who is taking care of the kids when they're in school? And therefore, a group of teachers who had the burden, and the pastors and missionaries those days, thought of a movement. Actually, KC is not just a ministry, it's a movement. A movement in the sense that, if you know, a movement is different from a group. Because movement has people who are willing to die for the cause.
It's a movement.
That's a movement. Yeah, movement is people who have a passion to the point they are able to sacrifice their very life. That's what you have in KCF. And so that was born in 1958, registered in 1959. And the main aim is to bring up a child who is holistic in their thinking, in their spirit, in their growth. And one of the things we focused on was how do we grow the student to become a leader, to become a Christian, and whatever area of life they want to focus on, a whole person. And KCF has a very robust leadership program to grow the kid, to grow the student. And what we have now is we have come up with what we call peer-to-peer program. Peer-to-peer program, we focus on 4 areas: on discipleship, on counseling, on Bible study, and on leadership. So peer-to-peer simply means that how do we bring up a student so that the student can help his fellow student. So we bring the students, the CU leaders, the prefects in a school, we equip and train them on how do you make a decision as a leader, matters of integrity, matters of servant leadership, and how do you influence and impact your peers. We have a whole book on that. So when a student become a leader at any level, that is something we train them on. How do you lead? How do you govern? And in that process, we also bring to their attention and help them to identify who do they consider to be greatest leaders. What qualities do they have? What do they do? And we also give them good examples from in the West, in Africa, people have been very good leaders. But also we also show them the worst leaders. Leaders who took power, they killed people, they enhanced corruption. The leader himself is the corrupt leader. And how do you avoid that? So we take them through that path. And we believe that if you go, the way he's saying, if you go to any school right now, you'll find majority of our school heads, student heads, are gotten from the CU. Because of the work, the quality of leadership schools are getting from them. And you find the schools where KCF presence has been felt, you will see cases of strike are not there. No issues of drugs, no issues of drugs. Clarity is there. And most principals now are beginning to realize that if you really want to grow a school, you grow the student character, the student leadership skill. The reason why we develop the leadership skill of the student is that the student has the greatest person, the person with the greatest influence in the school is not the principal.
Yeah, sure.
The person with the greatest influence in the school is not the teacher. The greatest influence in a school is the student. Do you know one student can organize the 2,000 students to go on strike? We, the principal, cannot do. I never told you. That guy is so influential. So what we want to do is to tap that and channel it in the right way. How do you help your... That's why we have counseling. Counseling discussion now. They will not share that with their parent. Neither will they share that with their pastor in a church. But that student will share with a fellow student. So there's an equipping we give to that student that if you find such a scenario in a school, how do you help your fellow student? So we give them that skills on counseling. And we are talking about how the CU can help the student to spiritually grow. That's what we do. Because now we do that. How do you, when my daughter was a student, she began a discipleship class in her school. So when I went to talk to the girls, I found she was leading 300 girls in a discipleship class. That's the influence we are talking about. So that the student can be impacted, be groomed, be helped, so that they are not leaders of tomorrow. We don't believe in that. We don't. You know, when I was a student, the current governor, Kisumu, came and told us, you are leaders of tomorrow. And they still are leaders. My friend, this guy is still the governor there. So we don't believe students are leaders of tomorrow.
They are of today.
They are leaders today.
Yes.
So we make them leaders now.
Wow.
So if you are a prefect, what kind of decision do you need to make as a leader? So we create in their mind, you are not going to lead tomorrow when you go to university or when you become a member of parliament. You are leading that class now. And you must exhibit and develop in your life the character of a full leader. And you must understand that as young as you are, you have within you power to influence and change the course of a school. You know, I was in a school and I was being told as a student in Form 3, stopped a strike. Form 3 students, Form 4s were going to go on a strike. And this boy came out of the dome and met these boys carrying petrol. So within a minute, they're going to burn the old boys in the dormitory. And this young man came and confronted him. And the school was not banned. That's the influence we're talking about. And you get it in the student when they're still there, not when they leave the school.
Yeah.
And so that's what we are doing. We are preparing to lead now, and how do you grow that character even into the future?
Yeah, and I believe, Mangicho, the influence he's talking about is very, very key, because when you train, or we train young people to be influential, it is very, very easy for them to be able to change the lives of their young people because they understand their character, they understand themselves, even in language and everything. It's very, very easy for them to influence their peers, right?
And exactly, even as when you chip into this, we've had, there is that expression that we've always had from quite a number of people that high school is make or break point for most students. Do you think it is that critical, and that is why KCF is therefore very, very, very imperative as far as shaping the life of these students is concerned?
Yeah, it's very important. And let me tell you one thing, Magisho. Probably all of us here, we got saved in high school. I don't know, but myself, I got saved in Form 3. Yes. And I started following the ways of God. And there I am because of that decision that I made in high school. If I never made the decision of giving my life to Jesus in high school, probably I could not have even made it to the university. Yeah? But you see, that decision that I made, it has made me who I am today. Let me also tell you, there are many leaders in this country, and especially the ministers of God, evangelists, bishops, overseers, many of them, a big percentage, over 60%, who got saved in high school and they were nurtured by KSCF. And right now they are serving. So it's a very critical stage. I can tell you, if these boys and girls escape Christ in high school, it will be very hard for them to give their life to Jesus in future. I've ministered to high school and also to the university. When you go and do, you preach in the high school and do the altar call, many boys or girls will come and give their life to Jesus. And now what remains is actually the discipleship and follow-up. When you go to the university and you make an altar call, you may see maybe 2 or maybe 1 or none will come to give his life to Jesus. Now try to do that in your working place where you have colleagues that are not born again. These are people that have exited the university, they are not born again, they never got saved in the high school. It is almost impossible. You preach to them, not unless by divine intervention of God that somebody will give his life when you are working together as staffs. So as the person is getting old, it's like he's getting far from God. So KSCF is filling that gap of letting these children come to Jesus. Then we nurture them, as the GS has said. We bring them up in the ways of God, and also exposing them to the life, and also making them understand how life is and how to handle issues of life. Our children, or the children that have gone through the system of KSCF from Form 1 to Form 4, I can tell you practically, they are very balanced children. Yes. You would love them. A child that has entered Form 1 and has attended oral meeting, he has gone to the leaders training days, he has gone to the joint rallies, he has gone to camps, the convention. Akitoka pare Form 4 is a very, very balanced child. You will be happy of that child even as a parent. They are not going, okay, wherever they go, they're able to stand on their own. They're able to, they know the do's and the don'ts of life. They don't just get to things. Why? Because they have been trained. But if we let them just grow like that, we just give them education without bring them to God, I would say that's a disaster. Yeah.
Wow. And probably Bwana GS, even as you also weigh in on these, where do you think we're having the disconnect? Of course, as you're saying, and most people would believe that KCF is doing quite a lot. But there are those who still also believe that the prevalence of moral decadence is also going at very, very high rates. How do you ensure that even as you do what you are doing for these students when they are at school, I mean, maybe they go for holidays, like right now, maybe when they're in holidays, whatever it is that they've gotten can still be maintained?
I think the disconnect could be at the parental level, because the mind of most parents is they want to give birth to children, but they don't want to raise them up. So when the children are born, they take them to church, then to school. So the environment at home, actually, our research shows that children are better in school than at home. Teachers have told us that watoto kama with children are with us is they know God, but when they come from home, they start again. Meaning the home environment. And I think that parenting, how do you parent the parent? That should be taught in church, not in school now. And most parents we have, they want their children to parent them. The scenario we have now is a world upside down, where the child is parenting the parent. Sure. Because you find the child you are raising up knows so much which the parent doesn't know.
Correct.
So if they want to know the latest song in the market, that is not coming from the parent, it's coming from the child. I don't know if you have young people yourself, but that's what happens. So you find a lot of education being given is coming from the child to the parent. So that's a huge disconnect. And the other disconnect is many Christians have never seen high school as a place they can do ministry. Most Christians think ministry is done in the church. Even most pastors. I tell you, go to any church and ask your bishop, when did he last go to Sunday school and sit there and know what is happening in the Sunday school? Most bishops, most pastors, they go to the big auditorium. That's where he think ministry is. He doesn't know that ministry starts from that Sunday school. So you find the Sunday school in a church is disorganized. The people who are having the kids are illiterate. People are not even trained. So if you go to the youth church, the teens church, it is a fun church. You find what they are doing there is fun. They think it's a place to speak shank, a place to dance, bring comedians, and all those things. That's what they think. So that's the disconnect we have. So what we are saying and what we believe is that we may not have KCF to come and change a church, because your church ikona mwenyewe. But if we can go and bring that truth to the young people, we are going to raise up a generation that fear God, a generation that know what is right or wrong, a generation that know what they want in life. And that's our focusing. And you see, we also need to know that right now KCF is organizing a national convention which is going to bring 10,000 students within those 5 days. Now, media in Kenya will go and pick 20 students in a bus who are drinking alcohol and magnify that. Why don't they come and talk about 10,000 students?
We're having a convention.
Having a convention for a whole week. Why? Because what we are being treated to normally is evil, which is being magnified. But there's so much good happening to young people. In the month of just last year, the year, we had 54 camps spread all over the nation. Imagine one media house, like you are reading the newspaper there, that newspaper, put that in the headline. Will that not give hope to this country? And tell us that, no, we have not lost the young people.
Yes.
Is it? We have not lost them. So the good is not being magnified enough. I think that's where we are. That's another disconnect. The good happening, no one is talking about it. We only talk about the bad.
Wow, and okay, you have a point, but maybe one Kenyanji, you can also talk about that, because as the GS has talked about the place of parents, even in terms of actually even supporting their students to benefit from Kenya's students' Christian fellowship.
Yeah, thank you, Mangicho. That is very true. Actually here we need the parents to come in. It's like we need everybody now to come in. Because KSF is a ministry where people sacrifice. The G has said it's a movement. And a movement is somebody who believes in something that he can even die of it. Yeah? We need many of us and many parents and teachers to come in. Because even as we do this evangelism and as we bring up these children in our schools, let me tell you, Magicho, there are many other schools that are not reached. There are many other schools that are not reached. Probably there are parents who don't know about the KSCF. And now, like the camp that we are having from this Saturday, the 6th to the 12th, it should be an eye-opener to many parents. That we have a camp whereby it is being managed by teachers. Teachers are people that you can rely on because there are always these children in the school. So parents should raise their children. The camp fee is not a lot. It is 2,500, and they'll be there for the whole week. And let me tell you, we have a very, very tight program. From the time they wake up in the morning, they do the morning devotion, they take their breakfast, they do Bible exposition, they are trained on how to do the Bible study. Then from there, there are programs all through, up to even the time they sleep at 9. By the time these children are leaving the camp, I'm telling you, they will be very different people. And that's what I'm saying. If they can do that, if a child can do that for the whole 4 years, by the time this child is exiting in Form 4, he'll be a different person. So mine is to urge parents, even when these children come at home, and they should encourage them even to go to churches. There are many children that when they're at home, they don't go to churches. They sleep. Sunday is the day to sleep. And maybe, probably even some parents don't attend the churches. And therefore the child will be at home. Then when he wakes up to take the breakfast, then he goes to the social media. For mobile phone, movies, TV. That is, I would say that is a disaster. Wow. That's a disaster. I tell the parents, you may not want to go to church, but you can go to church for the sake of your child. Yeah, for the sake of my child, let me just go to church. So that when these children open and come back from home, at least they are the same people that we released when they went at home. Because in school, we are able to manage them. You know, I normally say, my last point is that ourselves as teachers, we control students by the bell. If I want to preach to the students, I just ring the bell and all of them will come and I'll evangelize to them. But if a pastor wants to preach to a congregation, he'll do a poster, he'll do advertisement, and the people that will come, probably very few will get saved. Me, I'll ring a bell, they'll come, I'll preach to them, I make the altar call, and 100 will get saved. So when we do that, when these boys and girls have gone home, let the parents follow them up. Yeah, maybe the issue of the mobile phone, we'll talk about it later in another meeting. Because I would say, if we don't check on that, it's a menace. It is really destroying the good thing that the KSCF is doing. Yeah.
Okay, you had mentioned about the program to mentor some young people who are going to reach to other students within the school. My main concern is that in a school, especially for high school, we have two camps. One which has decided to go to church, the Christian Union. They will never miss there. They will just go and come. And you have an easy way of maybe mentoring them. But this other group, which is the huge one in our high school, which never goes to church, they never say anything. They're just hiding in the dormitories. And they are very, very key. Among them, I know there are many talented leaders there and influential young people there. Maybe do you have a plan on how you can be able, away from getting to the Christian unions, you can also reach to other
student bodies? Yeah. I think we do that. We do that a lot. As you are saying, school. As he's saying, school is controlled by a bell. And most of the schools, those Sunday services are mandatory. Most of them, mostly the boarding schools. But number two, even during the week for these schools, they have what you call Society's Day. It is called Society Day.
Yes.
Where now they meet in those groups, like Protestants, Catholic, or Islam, wanakutana. They meet those times. And so we reach the students through those forums. Right. So when he goes to a school, he's not going to preach only to the CU. He's going to preach to the whole student body who are there. That's number one way we reach them. Number two way we reach them, we organize career days. And we also organize counseling and guidance days.
For the entire institution?
For the entire institution.
Okay.
Now, in those ways, we are going now to show the students how their problem is solved from a biblical way. How can you develop your career? People who develop career outside God, what happened to them? And people who develop their career inside God, what happened to them? By that, we are giving that perspective. But the reason why we are focusing on peer-to-peer is because of that group. Because the student here who is well equipped and well trained, his friends are not all Christians. No. So the skill we give them is how do you make positive impact to people close to you, in your classroom, in the bed, in the dorm, and during games.
Right.
So you find students are actively engaged in that kind of interaction. And the model we are using is the Jesus model. He trained only 12 to impact the world. So we don't need to train the 2,000 students. We can only train 10 or 50. If they are well equipped and well impacted, those 50 are enough to bring transformation in a school. Because a student need to know, how do I help a student who is a drug addict? Because a student can be a drug addict. The whole school doesn't know. But students know. Yeah. So we need this student to be equipped so that he can sit one-on-one with him and tell him, you know, one time I was a drug addict. This is what I did. Do you see the change in me? It is because of what I believe. And through that, we have seen osmosis, that spread in the school, and you find a lot of help being come. So the belief we have is that if we can influence a few, those few we are able to influence many. And through that impact comes.
And maybe finally, out of what you are doing, do you have any follow-up program on maybe that mission that you are doing?
Yeah, I think, yes, we do, but now that's also a challenge. The ministry, this ministry, like any other ministry, we have our own challenges. That is now what the GS is saying. One, peer-to-peer will help us to do the discipleship, even when we are not there as teachers. Maybe you have gone to a place, you have preached, and maybe 100 students have gotten saved. You know, sometimes it becomes very cumbersome to go back and do the follow-up. But I would say during the readers training day, we do some of the follow-up during the readers training day, because it's the people maybe who got saved throughout that term that will come for the readers training day. But I also want to say it's a challenge, and that's why we need more workers. We need more volunteers, because this ministry you are not paid. I have a big title, like the GA has said. I'm a regional chair and a block chair, managing 11 counties. But I don't have a pay slip for that. I sacrifice what I'm earning to serve the children. I'm giving back to society. So we are calling upon many Christian teachers and associates, even people like you, and even from other professions. They can come in and minister to these young people. Yeah, when we continue talking about the same, we'll even have many other people supporting the ministry, so that we can have people like we have the people that we call school ministry facilitator.
Right.
They go around the schools, following up what the CU is doing. But you see, again, you cannot do that without money. So there is a limit in which we can do that. But the follow-up is good, but I would say we would try to do it in a better way. But by having resources and also having more workers joining in, so that we can do this work together.
And how is the reception from the principals?
Yeah, that's another thing. I should talk about that. In some school, we are received very well, and we are happy for those principals. And I can tell you, the principals that have embraced the Christian unions, they are very happy principals. If you find a school whereby we have a Christian union that is strong, whereby the CU patron is working well with the principal, you will find a school that is disciplined. You will find a school that has results. That one will happen in that school. But if you go to a school where the principal is fighting the Christian union and the CU patron and the program of the CU, you will find at this organized school with a lot of problems. So in some schools we are happy. We are received well by principals. Actually, some principals have ever called us. Me, have ever been called by principals, and they tell me, Mr. Kenyajui, we want the KSCF to come and minister here. And even make the program for our schools, because they know what is KSCF. So it's to encourage them to embrace the CU. Actually, I would say the CU is complementing what they are doing. Because if myself I'm a principal, I would really support the CU, because I know my work will be easy. Yeah, if it is a weekend and there is a challenge weekend, you can go and rest at home. You know, at that weekend, things are okay. Yeah, we are happy for those principals that are supporting us, and there are many, but there are many others that have not yet embraced the Christian Union and the CU. I also want to say, even the sponsored school, there are some sponsors that have really embraced the ministry, the KSCF,
right.
Because this ministry is non-denominational. We don't advocate for the doctrine of any church. We are non-denominational. So even when we come to a school that is sponsored by a certain church, we don't come to preach doctrine. Ourselves, we preach Christ and Christ crucified, period. We don't teach anything else. So let the principal really welcome us. Let them have an easy way of working with the CU patrons and the sub-county and the county officials of those counties, and they'll have a better school. Yeah.
I think your biggest mission would be also to look for a way to minister to some of the principals.
Sure,
yeah.
We do.
Right.
Sometimes we have ever done that. I've ever gone to a school to talk to a principal. And you find, by the way, when you talk and he gets to understand you, like there's a school I visited last year, second term. We went to visit a school to talk to the principal. By the time we were finishing the discussion, he told me, Mr. Kenyajui, I'm even going to sponsor 2 students to the camp that we had. And I think he did that because I never followed up to find out whether he did that. But you find most of them are blocking the CU, not because of anything, but because of ignorance. They may not know what it is. Then there are also some schools whereby you may find a principal may fear the CU patron. Because the CU patron is very influential, by the way.
Very true.
He's having a population of about 1,000 boys, and they are seated. And he's mobilizing, he's talking to them. And you see sometimes the principal can get some insecurity that this man can incite these children. But I can tell you, we don't do that. We have CU patrons that are people of integrity and people that love God. What they just want to see in the student is the values, the godly values in those children.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Bwana Kenyanjui. And I think there is a point that you've raised there, and maybe Bwana Jesse, you can also talk about that, because we're also living in an era where we know, of course, we have quite a number of denominations, and parents out there maybe are concerned that maybe some of these denominations can actually impact negatively upon their children. How is this fear managed when it comes to KSCF schools?
Thank you. This fear is managed by we believe, as he has said, we are not denominational. And we believe that our role is to equip the child so that they become effective in their churches. So as we prepare children to be used in the local church, so we make workers for churches. And then number 2, we don't propagate and affiliate ourselves with any denomination, because we believe that the students we are serving are coming from all manner of denominations. Our work is to equip them for the Christian work. Our vision is a generation of role model Christians having godly values and playing an active and positive role in church and society. So the main focus is godly children with godly value. If we can bring that in a school setup, in a Christian Union, then we shall have reached so many. Like now, we have almost 910,000 students going to leave Form 4 this year.
910.
Yeah, over 900,000 students leaving Form 4.
Oh.
Now those children, if you go to any school now and you ask how many students are saved, they know God, they can defend their faith, they can share their faith, not the ones attending the CU. The number cannot go beyond 10%. That's the dire need we have. The number in a school cannot go beyond 10%. And you know how that 10% works? If you come to your church here and take the number of members who are giving money to support the work, members who are in ministry, and members who are serving, if you go to the church here, any church, that number cannot go beyond 10%. It can't go beyond 10%. If you go to any university in Kenya, be it Kenyatta University, Nairobi University, Laikipia, and you get the total number of students in that university and the number of students that attend Sunday service in the campus hall, that number cannot go beyond 10%. So if churches want to make greater impact, you go and increase that 10%. You increase the percentage where? In the school.
In high school, yeah.
That's how you impact it. Even in your church here, go and do the data, the math. Get the list of people who give consistently. That number compared with the population of the church, they can't go beyond 10%. So what we do is, the churches, we demystify denominations and we magnify Christ and the Christian values. And we tell you that your church, the pastor and the members are human beings. They have all those weaknesses. Go and serve. So we are not winning children to any particular church. We don't even talk about our denomination. That's why we have not even said which church we come from. We come from. But we belong to churches. We are very committed members of our local church. But now we know that the students' population come from various denominations, not from one local church. And therefore we just tell them how do you become an effective Christian to go and be useful.
And I love that part of your mission, to prepare these young people.
Yes.
I like it, to go and serve in your local churches. This is very beautiful.
Sure.
Someone has raised a point, and maybe you can talk about that, that those who are in day schools are still having a lot of challenges in accessing the services of KSCF.
We actually, we have 10,481 secondary schools. And 70% of that number is day scholars, actually. And as he has said, we are not reaching all the schools because of the manpower and the resources. But a bigger percentage of those numbers of day school, our ministry focuses on day scholars, on day schools. Of course, day schools have the challenges of time, and they have the challenges of not being in school all the time. But still our program reaches majority of those day scholars of the schools. And again, you see the balancing now, because this child is with the parent and at home. So when they go home, they have these household chores they are doing. But we have a challenge, yes, not being able to cover them effectively. But a huge percentage of our workers on the ground still are reaching. So we can only need to, if we will give our number, so wherever they are, we can connect them with our leaders so that the services of KSF will reach them.
And for someone watching us, also Mr. Kenju will also talk about that when it comes now to also maybe contributing in one way or another to the role that KSCF is actually doing in our schools. What is the procedure like? How do they come in?
Okay. Yes. Yeah, thank you, Magicho. Yeah, there are various support that you can give to this ministry. One of them, it is the manpower. We need more workers. And Jesus said in Matthew 9:36 that the harvest is ready, but the laborers are few. Sure. Now, pray that God of harvest may send more laborers to the field. We need more laborers to this field. Like now, we have been given the junior secondary, JSS. JSS is ours, KSCF. But our manpower is so small, we cannot be able to reach out to all those primary schools that have the JSS. The day schools, whereby we have got patrons that are active and are committed, because this job requires commitment and sacrifice. So when you go to a school whereby there is a day school but the CU patron is committed, you will see a vibrant Christian union. You will see a Christian union where children will come for the rallies, they'll come for the camp and many other meetings that we do. That one is very, very important. So we need the support as far as the manpower is concerned. So I would request the churches and the pastors and bishops to actually release some of the workers that are in the churches and they are not very active. They can serve, but they are held up in churches. Okay. When we cross the school, we still go to our churches. Like myself, when I cross the school, I go and serve my church. Now, the other support is the financial support. Yeah, we can do much more than what we have done if we have the resources, if we have the finances. We can be able to penetrate to many of our schools. We have got like those volunteers that volunteer to go and do the work of God. But you see, they have to move around. You have to give them something, some fare to move around and visit the schools. So we need that. So our support, the major support that we need the manpower, but we also need the support financially from churches. I would actually request churches to really focus a lot of resources in this ministry. It's a ministry that is worth supporting. Yeah, it's a ministry that is worth supporting.
Well, that is that's really instrumental. Bupana, just as a contributor also on that. Especially in terms of those now who want maybe to support, where can they maybe now get the KSCF? Is it within their regions?
Yeah, thank you. As he's saying, you can join a local team. We serve through teams. Okay. And KSCF is in 200 sub-counties with leadership. And as we are saying, these are volunteers. They are not on payroll. So there are people who are teachers, and they say we want to give back to the society. So they give their own resources, their own time, their very life. So somebody can call us, and we'll direct you. The sub-county where you are, there's a KCF team there, which you can join and serve with the local team. And then number two, we know there are people who want to go and also want to give financially. The head office where we are is supported by well-wishers who send money there. And that's what makes us to run the fellowship. So you can send your donation to KCF pay bill number 542600. 542600. And then the account number is support. But again, you can also involve yourself in prayer. This work is a spiritual battle. So when you hear we are not accepted in some of the schools, Principal Mwenyewe stand against the work of the Christian Union, we need to pray. So we need to ask God to help us. So the numbers are there on your screen, and you can use that to support and get involved. And more information, you can go to our Facebook page, KCF, www.KCF. We have YouTube pages, and you have more information about what we are doing.
And maybe also in line with that, maybe for somebody who have not gotten the upcoming convention, and also you can talk about the areas in which they will be held.
Thank you. We are running our national convention from this Saturday 6th to 12th this month in 4 different areas. One will be in Kwale Boys. If you are from Taita Taveta, from Kilifi, from Lamu, all the way from Kitui, Machakos, Makueni, please, you go to Kwale Boys. Then we are going to have another one in Kagumo High School in Nyeri, and this covers students from Samburu, Muranga, Embu, Kirinyaga, Meru. They go to Kagumo. And then we have another one in Kabianga. Kabianga is in Kericho County. So if you're coming from Western, from Nyanza, part of Rift Valley, Kabianga is nearer to you. Then the last one we have also in Chania, in Thika. So in those being shown on your screen, take your children to any of those camps. We're going to be dealing with the issue of teenage sex, cults and occult, issue of internet. How does a young person make decisions to follow Christ? How do you make impact as a young person? All these issues like LGBTQ, which is a big menace in our nation today, will be handled there. So you as a parent who is listening to us, I know you've been watching MBCI, and there's advert going on there. Please don't ignore. Bring your child to any of those camps, and you'll never regret.
That's very awesome. We are nearing the close of this particular show, but before that, we have that particular segment that we always prepare for you, and that is the Know Your Constituency segment, Know Your Constituency. And today, Kagi, we are taking our view all the way to Murang'a County, and there we have this particular constituency known as Kiharu constituency. It's one of the 7 constituencies in Murang'a County. Kiharu constituency, one of the 7 constituencies in Murang'a County, and of course between 1966 and 1983 it used to be known as Mbere constituency. That is, between 1966 and 1983 the constituency was known as Mbere constituency. We have some previous MPs for this particular constituency. 1963 we had Jesse Mwangi Gashago. 1966 we had Julius Gikonyo Kiano. Come 1969 we had again Julius Gikonyo Kiano. 1974 again the same man, Julius Gikonyo Kiano. Then 1979, I know this is a common figure in the country, Kenneth Matiba. 1983 again Kenneth Matiba. 1988 again Kenneth Matiba. Come 1990 Gidraf Mwangi Mweru. 1992 again Kenneth Matiba came back, and then 1997 we had Ignatius Ngenye Karaoke. 2002 Kembi Gitora. 2007 Barnabas Muturi Mwangi. 2013 that is Irongo Kangata. Then 2017 to 20, and again 2022, and of course the incumbent member of parliament for Kiharu constituency is one Honorable Dindi Nyoro, of course the current MP. We have a few words there. We have Central, we have Gakendo, we have Kahohia, Mbere Rural, we have Mombi. We also have Gatore, we have Hospital, Maragi, Mogoire, Murarandia. We also have Waithaga and Mokoyo. Those are some of the words actually we have in Kiharu constituency. The main economic activity there, Kagi, we are having tea and coffee farming for the people of Kiharu constituency. Yes, there we go.
Right. Kiharu constituency is not a new constituency in our country.
Yes.
It has given us, I think, 3 or 4 prominent politicians. And when I was following your presentation, I could feel that that constituency has a grace to produce prominent leaders in our country. Kenneth Jindo Matiba is one of the pillars of our multipartyism in this country. And he was very prominent. He did a lot of work for fighting for democracy together with others, Kina Raila Odinga and many others. Number 2, we have Julius Gikonyo Kiano. Julius Gikonyo Kiano was not a politician per se, but he was more on the academic side. Sure. In fact, it's being said he is one of the guys who are first to attain a PhD in this country. So he was an academician together with her wife, who is now late, Julius Gikonyo Kiano.
Sure.
And then now we have Dindi Nyoro, who is very influential in our politics today. And he is a very young man, being the second term MP, and we can see where he is heading to. And then the third one, Kembi Gitora.
Yes.
I think who was previously the chairman of the KEMSA. Kembi Gitora was also influential during Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure. So Kiharu constituency is not a constituency to be able to ignore or to wish away with. It is a very nice constituency, and I believe there is a grace of leadership in this constituency. Yeah.
And Bwana Kinyanjui, these are constituencies neighboring your county?
Yeah.
My constituency, yeah, is a great county, and as Kagi has said, it has produced very great leaders.
Wow.
Even people like Irongo Kangata, there was a time he was an MP of that constituency. By the way, my mom is from this place, Nakuru.
Exactly.
But she really loves Irogo Kangata. I don't know why. Anytime I talk to her and he hears something mentioned about Irogo Kangata, she'll tell me, hey, I love that man. That man is good. So they have done, those leaders have done good work. But I also want to say is a constituency, and also as a county as a whole, is a county that has produced very great leaders, and also financially, economically, it has produced a lot of tycoons, a lot of very rich people.
Wow.
They come from around that area.
Yes.
It's a great cause. I'm happy to be their neighbors.
Yes.
I know in Kiswahili we say mgagana ukwa hariwari mkau.
Asante sana. My director is we are pressed for time. Maybe we can have the leadership quote before we bring it to a close. And our leadership quote for today is, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. That is by former US President Abraham Lincoln. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. GS, what do you think of Abraham Lincoln's quote?
Abraham
30 seconds.
Abraham Lincoln was one of the greatest presidents US has ever had. Actually, in 2006, they asked young students in university, who is the greatest president of all time? 64% mentioned him. So what he's saying is very true, because he was a man who had real power,
Sure.
and used it very well.
Wow. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, you have to bring it to a stop, but that was quite a very, very interesting conversation. When Joseph Odingo, the GS General Secretary, Kenya Student Christian Fellowship, we appreciate a lot what you are doing in the country as far as molding these students is concerned. Thank you for your time today. And also, Bwana Samuel Kinyanji, it's been a pleasure. Receive greetings from Apostle Gishimu.
Yes.
He's been watching.
Wow.
And he's very, very interested.
I got
Thank you.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, and of course we'll do it again next week. You can be sure to get another very, very interesting conversation. On behalf of the entire crew making this a success for today, my name is Mangi Chomola. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Thank you for finding time to be here, and on Friday, God willing, we are together on the Men Matters Friday. Paul Kagi, my name. Enjoy your day ahead.